When a supercell unleashes its power, the effect can be truly magnificent. Deep inside a supercell cloud hides the tornado, the world's most deadly weather phenomenon.
Oh my gosh, Brian, look at it.
Yeah, it's getting huge.
Professional storm chasers risk their lives to get these images as they follow the erratic path of a tornado.
And it's sitting right there on top of the gas plant, sorry. Right on top of the gas plant. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Large.
Wherever they strike, these whirling spirals of wind leave a trail of unbelievable destruction. Their winds race around at over 400 kilometers an hour, destroying everything in their path. Although most of them only touch down for a short time, perhaps just a few minutes, their destruction is absolute.
We are in tornado damage here. Trees are down. Trees are down. Oh, power line's down. Power line's down. Power line's down. Power line's down. Don't touch anything. Don't touch anything.
Depends where you're going.
We're going.
Power lines are down. The tornado's right up here to our northeast. There's debris all over the place. Mile-wide tornado. It's just to our northeast.
To stand a chance of survival, people need to be warned as early as possible, but tornadoes are notoriously difficult to predict. Meteorologists now use Doppler radar to detect tornadoes before they've hit the ground.
When we look at the radar and we're seeing winds blowing in opposite directions very close to each other, we then infer that there is a rotation within that area.
These rotating winds suck air up into a central column. They stretch thousands of meters up into the supercell cloud. On this radar map, high winds traveling away from the Doppler radar are bright red, and high winds coming towards the radar are bright blue.
So if we get a bright red against a bright blue, we know that we've got a very tight circulation right in that part of the atmosphere, and at that point we may decide to put out a tornado warning.
Finally, a funnel descends from the cloud's base, and a tornado is born. Some tornadoes cause minimal damage, like this one in Miami. These rate F1 on the scale of tornado intensity. But as the tornado's wind speed increases, so does the destruction. This is the worst type, an F5. One such ferocious tornado in 1997 took many by surprise. The small town of Arkadelphia was razed to the ground. Ranked as an F4, this 150-meter wide twister ripped a diagonal trail of devastation the entire length of the state.
I had been watching the weather on TV, and they're saying it hit about 20 miles away from here. So I figured, well, we've got another 15, 20 minutes before it's going to hit us.
415 kilometer-an-hour winds reduced everything to rubble.
And we could see debris started, coming through the air and stuff. Got back in the hallway, closed all the doors, and then it just, it started. And I saw my roof just rotating, and my ceiling fans was just going 90 miles a minute, and then all of a sudden the roof just disappeared, and we just kind of crashed over.
It split the roof open, and you could just see the sky, and the water was coming down on you. I was praying.
And I hauled butt down the hill in a truck. I got, probably 70 yards from here, and then it picked me up. Truck tilted to the left, spun around a couple times, and it just hit in the mud. Tree fell down on the trailer, and it pinned me plumb down right there. It stopped. But the truck just kept vibrating and squalling sideways, up and down. It was a ride.
The Doppler radar warning system saved many lives in Arkansas. But despite advances in forecasting technology, the death toll was still high. Few homes can withstand the force of an F4 tornado. This trailer park in Arkadelphia was completely flattened. No one survived here.
These were all beautiful, thick woods through here. Now they're just gone. It used to be so pretty out here. Now it's just rubble.
Claudia Randall's brick home offered slightly better protection. She and her family were lucky to escape with their lives.
Just my home. There's my Cadillac. When we heard the sirens go off, we ran outside to see if we could see anything. And at first it was real quiet. There was nothing. It was real eerie. You didn't hear anything. And my hanging baskets that were on my front porch, I could see out the front window, they were just twirling in circles. The front picture window started getting wet, and then I saw mud coming all over it. And I knew we were in trouble. I kept hollering at my husband, and he came around the corner, and he said as he was coming in the door, the front door flew past him. And one of the dogs was flying in. He grabbed it, and they came underneath, and then we laid there for just a few minutes. It was real quick. The front wall of the house is gone. The front is gone. It blew way away. And then the hallway wall fell over. It was on the other side of the rooms. It fell in. And if it had blown away, we'd have blown away with it. It was real noisy, and I could hear the wind. The wind, people say it sounds like a freight train. It was a lot louder than a freight train. It was real loud. I just looked up, and it was just rubble. There was just nothing there. And I really thought maybe my time had come.
The National Weather Service gave Arkansas up to 30 minutes advance warning. But still, 26 people died, 400 were injured, and over 2,300 homes were destroyed.
to commemorate the 60th anniversary of the beginning of World War II, Discovery present a comprehensive guide to one of the most hard-fought conflicts of our century, World War II week, continuing tonight from 11 and all this week, culminating in the whole day Saturday on Discovery.
Planet Earth. For the last decade, Discovery Channel has been your guide to it. And now there's DiscoveryEurope.com, Europe's dedicated internet site. For interactive program listings, intriguing features and background on all your favorite documentaries, and our choice of the best related sites. Log on and explore our world. It's never been so involving. Visit DiscoveryEurope.com.
Approximately 1.5 million known species of life living in our world. You are one of them. Now meet the rest on Animal Planet. The ultimate view of planet Earth, and the possibility that there might be other similar worlds. The overwhelming power of a river in full flow, and the menace of a tropical storm. The open spaces of a hot savanna, and the freedom of natural flight. The eternal search for answers about the origin of mankind. Our fascination with the stars. The awesome products of human ingenuity that are all around us. The mystery of a UFO sighting. The unstoppable progress of science as it changes our lives. And the desire to learn from past mistakes. The knowledge that we are not the only species struggling to survive. The ability of a single person to influence the lives of millions. All of this and much more on Discovery Channel.
We think we know about eclipses. We think we know about the solar system. And yet still, when I see an eclipse, I'm experiencing the same emotions that the ancients must have felt. It's a humbling experience. And it's a healthy thing to feel humbled by nature.
Aren't dolphins nice? Well, not always. They have a dark side as well as humans. Deep sea, deep secrets. This Sunday from 10 on Discovery.
Tornadoes are not a supercell's only killing machine. Inside the leading edge of supercells, the temperature drops to minus 112 degrees. Ice crystals are swept up and down inside the cloud by violent air currents and grow into hailstones. Hail can form anywhere in the world, where cold air meets warm air. In February 1996, a giant storm hit just outside Sydney, Australia, covering its suburbs with golf ball-sized hailstones. The storm caused widespread damage. But 4 years earlier, an even more ominous supercell cloud loomed over Calgary in Canada. The result was a massive freak summer hailstorm. By nightfall, the roads were buried under a deep layer of hail. The individual hailstones were small, but together they formed drifts over a meter high and brought the city to a standstill. But this was no winter storm. In the summer heat, the hail melted rapidly, flooding streets and swamping homes and businesses. The hailstones damaged cars, destroyed roofs, and shattered windows. The total cost of repairs was $400 million. The world's greatest supercells are so big they can touch the stratosphere. Inside, positively charged particles move to the top of the cloud, and negatively charged particles move to the bottom. The cloud resembles a giant battery waiting to discharge its immense power. As a lightning bolt flashes, the air around it burns 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun, expanding its supersonic speed to create the sound of thunder. Some lightning bolts flit from cloud to cloud, but most remain inside their supercell. This is sheet lightning. These images, taken from the space shuttle at night, reveal giant lightning storms pulsing across the tropics. At any moment, there are over 2,000 active lightning storms on Earth. Lightning storms hold another mystery. Scientists call them sprites. Although they last only a fraction of a second, these giant plumes of electrical images shoot up from the top of the cloud and can reach 95 kilometers high. Nobody knows how or why they form. They may recycle nitrates in the atmosphere and play a major role in sustaining life on Earth. But under the cloud hides the real killer. Fork lightning. Lightning always takes the easiest path to the ground and usually strikes tall objects. Each year in America, 40 million bolts connect with the Earth. 400 people are hit. and only half of those survive. Tornadoes and lightning are spectacular, but there is an even more deadly killer hidden inside each supercell. Every one of these giant clouds contains thousands of tons of water, and when it falls, the volume can be so great there just isn't time for it to drain away. Flash floods strike with unimaginable force. In early August 1997, a supercell cloud caused a torrential downpour in the Arizona desert. "80 kilometers away, the dry Antelope Canyon walkers were unaware of the impending disaster. The distant rainstorm had become a flash flood. Unable to seep away through the impermeable desert floor, the water was funneled into the canyon at great speed. The raging torrent swept 12 hikers away. They had no warning and no means of escape. The rescue mission could only start once the waters had subsided. Rescue workers from helicopters and boats scoured the mud and debris for signs of life. Despite all attempts to save them, 11 perished, trapped in the mud. Incredibly, one man survived by clinging to the wall of the canyon. In early March 1997, a giant supercell storm hit West Virginia. The torrential downpour caused widespread flash floods. This man was in danger of being swept away and drowned. He was caught in a rapidly rising current just yards from his garage. The emergency services arrived just in time to save his life. Billions of liters of water eventually ran into the Ohio River, triggering a 2-week rampage, flooding 5 states and killing over 30 people.
I just couldn't believe how fast the water was raising, but it just happened so quickly that you just couldn't plan for it quick enough.
The water was rising about 1 foot an hour. I still, in the back of my mind, thought, oh, we'll get about 1.5 feet water in our house at the most.
The river took everyone by surprise, rising nearly 12 meters above its usual level and sending an average of 2 meters of water into people's homes.
It was coming very, very fast, faster than I've ever seen it in my life. I waited in water until it was thigh high. My husband waited in water to almost chest high, still carrying stuff, just trying to save what we could.
Despite the Ohio River being controlled by over 20 locks and dams, Kentucky, Indiana, Tennessee, Ohio, and West Virginia were all underwater. For some residents of Kentucky, this was the worst flood in living memory.
We watched articles, we watched sheds float away, we watched decks, we watched everything go past here.
We live in a huge old 2-story house, and the boat came right by the bedroom window upstairs.
We did a house-to-house survey to make sure that all the people were out. We did animal rescues. There was something to be done 24 hours around the clock.
I had gone through one other flood in '64, but this was completely different because it came so fast. I had 3 feet of water in '64, but I had 7.5 feet this time.
40,000 homes and businesses were destroyed, and hundreds of thousands of people were evacuated by the emergency services. These floods caused over $230 million worth of damage in Kentucky alone.
When we went back in, it was so devastating to see belongings you had left destroyed by water.
When we first come in the house, it was just unbelievable. It's just a feeling You just can't describe it.
We had approximately probably $25,000 worth of damage to our home.
That was 33 years of our life that went out on the street.
Although majestic and beautiful, the supercell's hidden arsenal of killer weather claims thousands of lives each year, and they leave a trail of devastation which costs billions of dollars. And those who have experienced the real power of a supercell know how lucky they are to be alive.
I was frightened. We could have all died. I wanted to make it out for my children. As soon as I heard my children were okay, I was fine. And when I cried, I really think that it was more tears of, thank goodness we're okay, and the people around here that we love so much are okay, more than tears of sadness. And even now I get teary-eyed that we could have all died.
Wonders of Weather continues next with flash flooding, the world's greatest natural killer, asking how can we hold back these raging waters.
On crime scene, a body battered to death with a concrete block. Why? Another unrecognizable body found in a trash can. How? And a DNA trail that leads, well, who knows where. That's a lot of questions that need answers on Crime Scene, tomorrow from 9 on Discovery Channel.
Watching Discovery Channel, where the supernatural comes to life.
In half an hour, we take a close look at Amazing Earth, at the forces which keep the surface of our planet in constant motion. Earthquake and volcanic eruption pay testimony to a violent present. Wonders of Weather continues now with a look at the extraordinary power of raging waters.
It starts with a single drop of rain. Within minutes, that rain can become one of nature's most feared events, a flood. Every year around the world, raging water is responsible for more deaths than any other natural disaster. Water, nature's most destructive force. Floodwaters cause billions of dollars worth of damage globally every year. Incredible feats of engineering attempt to hold back its remorseless flow. Water falls in such vast quantities that over half the world's population lives in fear of losing their lives and their livelihoods. Water is so volatile, even a shallow stream can turn into an unstoppable raging torrent, a flash flood. It takes only minutes for heavy rainfall to send a wall of water crashing down from the mountains. This is Spring Creek, a stream that runs underneath a railway line in Fort Collins, Colorado. The city lies in the shadow of the Rocky Mountains. On July the 15th, 1997, after 2 days of driving rain, the water level of Spring Creek had risen by 6 meters. The railway bed became a dam, but the water welled up behind it and spread outwards. By 9 p.m., water began to spill over the embankment, washing across adjacent roads. A unique combination of factors was about to turn Fort Collins into a disaster area. The storm, carrying the heavy rain, settled directly over the city. In one night, it deposited 17.5 centimeters of rain. The area usually receives just 43 centimeters per year. The ground around the city was caked as hard as concrete. It could not absorb the water quickly enough. Late in the evening, the water trapped behind the railway embankment finally burst through. It sent a 6-meter wall of water roaring through a trailer park and onto the streets. Emergency services rushed to the scene. Fast-flowing debris from the trailer park threatened to smash everything in its path. The current was too strong for this rescuer to reach the victim. The current was so strong that houses were torn from their foundations.
You got debris coming! It's all moving! The whole thing's moving! Get out of the way! Get out of the way, quick!
The water level was rising so rapidly that the rescuer found himself in mortal danger. An inflatable raft reached the trapped rescuer, only for disaster to strike. The outboard motor gave out. Despite desperate efforts to restart the engine, the current dragged the boat downstream. A police officer could only watch as the raft disappeared. Fortunately, both men survived their ordeal. Rescue teams across the city were stretched to the limit as they responded to thousands of emergency calls.
You're okay, John? I'm doing great. All right. John, you need more out there? More people?
Police officer Larry Vale was called to assist rescue efforts at the trailer park.
Quite frankly, when dispatch called me from where I live, which was away from the worst part of the storm, and said they needed some help and if I had a boat to bring it, I wasn't sure if they knew what they were talking about. I didn't imagine that there would be enough to float a 17-foot inboard-outboard. But it turned out that it worked well. Some of the people had already been taken out, and we were able to pitch in. Myself and some firemen that got in the boat with me were able to get in here and get about 14 or 15 people out that were still stranded.
The Colorado State University campus was also heavily damaged. Floodwater soaked 1 million library books, destroyed the campus bookstore, and wrecked their television studio. The water finally subsided, and the rescuers reached the man who'd held onto a tree. His would-be rescuers also survived.
We got hypothermia. Okay, give him up to the ambulance and run him up.
The trailer park resident had been up to his neck in freezing water for over 2 hours. He was treated for shock and hypothermia. The following morning, emergency services began the grim task of clearing up the wreckage. The trailer park was demolished. The water had smashed some trailers against trees. Others were crushed against an overpass. The flood claimed 5 lives. All the victims lived in the trailer park. The initial surge of water was so strong, it derailed a passing train. Even for experienced observers, the sheer power of this flash flood was difficult to comprehend.
This is what's left of a house trailer, a mobile home. Water stripped it of everything, left just the frame.
Considering the damage, it's a miracle that the death toll was so low. "24 hours later, Spring Creek had returned to its normal, harmless level.